On the morning of September 14, 2007, a 14-year-old boy in Doncaster, England, put on his school uniform, said goodbye to his parents, walked out the front door, and instead of turning toward school, he turned toward a decision that would consume his family, baffle investigators, and remain one of the most haunting missing persons cases in British history. His name was Andrew Gosden. And from the moment he stepped off a train at King's Cross Station in London, he was never seen again. To understand why Andrew's disappearance is so deeply unsettling, you first have to understand who Andrew Gosden was. He was not a troubled teenager. He was not involved in drugs, gangs, or any criminal element. By every account, Andrew was a quiet, exceptionally intelligent boy who lived with his family on a residential street in the Bolby area of Doncaster, South Yorkshire. He attended Macaulay Catholic High School, where his academic record was extraordinary. He had achieved perfect attendance the previous year and had been described by teachers as gifted, particularly in mathematics. His father, Kevin Gosden, worked as a speech therapist. His mother, Glenys, was a teacher. His older sister, Charlotte, was away at university. The Gosden family was close-knit, stable, and loving. There were no red flags, no warning signs, nothing that could explain what Andrew did on that Friday morning in September. The timeline of that day has been reconstructed with painful precision. Andrew's alarm went off. As usual, he got dressed in his school uniform, black blazer, white shirt, dark trousers. He had breakfast with his parents. His father, Kevin, left for work first. His mother left shortly after. Andrew was seen leaving the house at approximately 8:05 a.m. But instead of walking the short distance to his school, Andrew waited. Neighbors later reported seeing him return to the house after his parents had gone. He went inside, changed out of his school uniform and into a black slipknot t-shirt, black jeans, and a black jacket. He took his wallet, his keys, his PSP gaming device, and approximately £200 in cash that he had withdrawn from his bank account the previous day. He left behind his passport and, crucially, his charger for the PSP. He did not take his computer. He did not leave a note. At approximately 8:30 a.m., Andrew walked to the Doncaster train station. CCTV footage, which would later become some of the most analyzed footage in British missing persons history, captured him arriving at the station. He appeared calm, unhurried, and alone. He approached the ticket counter and purchased a one-way ticket to London King's Cross. The ticket agent reportedly asked if he wanted a return ticket, as it was only marginally more expensive. Andrew declined. He paid £21.50 for a single fare. He boarded the 9:35 a.m. train to London. This single detail, the refusal of a return ticket, has haunted investigators and the Gosden family for nearly 2 decades. Did Andrew know he wasn't coming back? Was it a financial decision by a 14-year-old who simply wanted to save a few pounds? Or was it something else entirely? There is no consensus. And every theory about Andrew's fate hinges in part on the interpretation of that one moment at the ticket counter. The train arrived at King's Cross Station in London at approximately 11:20 a.m. CCTV cameras inside the station captured Andrew walking through the concourse and exiting through the main entrance onto Euston Road. He appeared to be alone. He did not appear distressed. He did not appear to be following anyone or being followed. He walked out into one of the busiest cities on earth, a 14-year-old boy from a small town in South Yorkshire. And he vanished? That grainy CCTV image of Andrew walking out of King's Cross Station is the last confirmed sighting of him ever. His parents did not realize anything was wrong until that evening. The school had attempted to contact the family about Andrew's absence through an automated system, but the message was left on a home phone that no one checked during the day. It was only when Andrew failed to return home at his usual time that Kevin and Glenys Gosden began to worry. By evening, they were frantic. By nightfall, they had contacted the police. The investigation that followed was immediate but deeply flawed in its earliest stages. South Yorkshire police initially treated Andrew as a teenage runaway. Statistics supported this assumption. The vast majority of missing teenagers return home within 48 hours. But Andrew was not a typical case, and the critical first hours of the investigation were lost to this assumption. CCTV footage from London, which could have tracked Andrew's movements beyond King's Cross, was stored on systems that automatically overwrote after a set period. By the time investigators requested footage from Transport for London and surrounding businesses, much of it had already been erased. This loss of evidence remains one of the most devastating aspects of the case. The window to trace Andrew's steps through London closed before anyone thought to open it. As days turned into weeks, investigators began pursuing every conceivable angle. They examined Andrew's computer and found no evidence of communication with strangers, no plans to meet anyone in London, and no indication of grooming or online predatory contact. Andrew did not have a mobile phone, unusual for a teenager even in 2007, but consistent with his personality. His parents had offered to buy him one multiple times, and he had consistently refused, saying he didn't need one. This meant there were no text messages to analyze, no call records to trace, no GPS data to recover. Andrew had effectively gone dark the moment he left Doncaster. Theories about what happened to Andrew Gosden have circulated for years, and each one carries its own weight of probability and heartbreak. The first and most commonly discussed theory is that Andrew traveled to London to attend a concert or event and met with foul play. Andrew was a fan of rock and metal music, bands like Slipknot, Muse, and 30 Seconds to Mars. On the day he disappeared, there were indeed live music events happening in London. Some investigators and amateur sleuths have suggested he may have gone to see a band and encountered someone dangerous. But no ticket purchases in his name were ever found, and no witnesses at any venue ever came forward to say they had seen him. The second theory, and the one that Andrew's family has spoken about with agonizing openness, is that Andrew was the victim of a predator. The possibility that someone had been grooming Andrew through channels that investigators couldn't detect, perhaps through his PSP's limited internet capability, or through in-person contact that no one observed, has never been fully ruled out. In 2021, this theory gained renewed attention when two men were arrested in connection with Andrew's disappearance on suspicion of kidnapping and human trafficking. Both were later released without charge due to insufficient evidence. The arrests, while ultimately inconclusive, confirmed that police were still actively investigating the case and had not abandoned the possibility of criminal involvement. A third theory suggests that Andrew may have taken his own life. His family has consistently pushed back against this interpretation, noting that Andrew showed no signs of depression, had not expressed any suicidal ideation, and had plans for the future. But investigators cannot entirely dismiss it. London is a city with many locations where a person could disappear permanently. And the River Thames alone claims lives every year without always yielding remains. The absence of Andrew's body, however, cuts both ways. It neither confirms nor denies this possibility. The fourth and perhaps most agonizing theory is that Andrew is still alive. That he chose to disappear and has been living under a different identity for the past 17 years. This theory is the one that Kevin Gosden has spoken about most publicly, not because he believes it is the most likely, but because it is the only one that allows for hope. Kevin has campaigned tirelessly for his son's case to remain in the public eye. He has given hundreds of interviews. He has worked with the Missing People charity. He has maintained a dignity and resolve that is almost unbearable to witness, because behind every public appearance is a father who simply does not know if his son is alive or dead. The investigation into Andrew Gosden's disappearance has been reviewed and re-reviewed multiple times. South Yorkshire Police have admitted to failings in the early stages of the case. The loss of CCTV footage, the delay in escalating the investigation from a runaway case to a potential abduction, and the limited forensic technology available in 2007 all contributed to a trail that went cold almost before it was warm. In recent years, advances in digital forensics have allowed investigators to re-examine some evidence, but no breakthrough has materialized. There are small details that continue to haunt those who follow this case. The fact that Andrew left his PSP charger behind suggests he either planned to return home that day or didn't care about the device running out of battery. The £200 he withdrew was a significant sum for a 14-year-old, but not enough to sustain himself for any extended period. He took no change of clothes. He made no contact with anyone after leaving Doncaster. He simply walked out of King's Cross Station and into nothing. As of today, Andrew Gosden's case remains classified as an open missing persons investigation. He would now be 31 years old. Age progression images have been created and circulated, showing what Andrew might look like as an adult. His family continues to appeal for information. South Yorkshire Police maintain that the case is active and that they follow up on every lead. But the question that has defined this case for nearly 2 decades remains unanswered. What was Andrew Gosden going to London for? He clearly had a purpose. He planned his trip. He withdrew money. He waited for his parents to leave. He bought a ticket. He made a deliberate, calculated decision to travel to a city 150 miles from his home on a school day. Something drew him to London. Someone or something was waiting for him, or he believed it was. If you have any information about the disappearance of Andrew Gosden, South Yorkshire Police and the Missing People charity urge you to come forward. A family has spent 17 years in a limbo that most of us cannot imagine. Not grieving, not hoping, just waiting. And somewhere, in the sprawling maze of London or beyond it, the answer to what happened to a quiet, brilliant 14-year-old boy on September 14, 2007, still exists. The question is whether anyone who knows it will ever speak.